Greetings. Well, I hope you guys had a good Christmas break and Happy New Year's. I hope your resolutions were, um, I don't want to say I hope your resolutions were sincere because that comes off as kind of condescending, doesn't it? Hmm, I hope your resolutions were brought you happiness for the time being. Uh, no, but I mean that sincerely. 2014. I became an atheist, and I'm not going to spill my guts. I'm not going to tell my full story, but I became an atheist when I was about 18, 19. I was raised fairly strict Christian. I went to a Christian private high school um, where we prayed before each class, um, where we even had biblical discussion, and we were taught to relate whatever we were learning to um, a biblical concept, um, which was really, in my opinion, looking back, a pretty constrained way of viewing the world, a pretty constrained way of learning in general. Um, well, I mean that was a long time ago. I'm not going to go into detail now, but I became an atheist when I was 18 or 19 years old, and 24 now. Um, and I have a theory, and it is just a theory. If you're willing to indulge me for the next 5 minutes, or however long it takes to articulate this, um, I've kind of been noticing a pattern, and it's kind of parallel to what a lot of Christians say actually. Um, the pattern that I've noticed is that atheists like myself, they generally tend to take a very condescending kind of position on their views, um, like they're always right, they can never be wrong, and they tend to sound like know-it-alls, you know. And to be fair, I can come across as a know-it-all sometimes as well. I'm not trying to put anybody down in this. I'm just kind of voicing my observations. Um, and I thought for a second, the Christians are always saying that, um, well, if you don't believe in the true God, then you must worship yourself or you have false idols. And in a sense, I think that might be accurate. Um, just my opinion. I'm not a Christian. I have no interest to validate any part of Christianity. I'm an atheist. But let's think about it. Let's have a session of free thought. I really do enjoy thinking. I probably enjoy thinking too much. It's what I do every second of the day. And again, to be fair, most people think every second of the day. But my mind is always up in the clouds. I just can't resist the urge to think. Um, I've noticed that the pattern is either belief in a god or gods, or belief in self, or both. And yet, as an atheist, I say that, okay, God doesn't exist, or there isn't enough evidence that God exists. But also as a thinker, as an informal thinker, I suppose I also have to say that the self doesn't exist. And yet we're taught to believe in self, in this fictitious idea of self, but not believe in God. They're both fictitious ideas. It seems, I feel like a lot of people just sort of buy into this idea of belief in self because, oh, it feels good. I can accomplish so much with this belief in self. I'm confident. Yes, yes. And I think that they fail to realize that the self is a fabricated idea. It's something that you have convinced yourself that you are. You know, you are a certain identity. You are a certain person. This is something that you've convinced yourself you are over a certain number of years, starting since early childhood. Um, um, Ego really is a response to trauma. Um, I think I mentioned this in another video. It's kind of like you are making the distinction between yourself and others. Um, Yourself and the world. There's a distinction there, and it creates a natural barrier to prevent yourself um, from being in pain. That sense of separation there kind of acts as a buffer against pain or things that you don't want. Um, but is the self true? Is the self real? Rene Descartes said that, I think it's cogito ergo sum, which means I think, therefore I am. But I'm not sure, man. I'm not trying to sound pretentious enough to say that I'm right and Rene Descartes, and all his, um, as well known as and as influential as he was wrong. Not what I'm trying to say, but how many other species of animals think? I mean, thinking seems to be a function of the brain, a function of the brain, and in the same way that it's a function of the heart to beat. But that doesn't mean that this identity that you believed over a certain number of years is you. And I believe he was referring to identity when he said I. The I is your identity. It doesn't exist though. Where is it? Where has it ever been? It's a concept that you hold in your thoughts. It's a concept that you experience. It's part of the experiential reality. It's part of the experiential reality in the same way that God is a part of that same experiential reality. It's something that you experience. You experience yourself. You experience God. So the self and God in my mind are on equal playing fields here. And yet we're so apt to kick God out of the picture. It's funny as an atheist that I'm saying this, but we're so apt to kick God out of the picture, but we're so eager to believe in ourselves and to love ourselves. And I ask the question, why? Since it is a fictitious idea, since it is just part of the experience, it's not really real, it's just part of subjective reality, it's just part of something that we experience. We want to feel powerful, don't we? We do. Everybody on this planet does want to feel powerful. We all want to feel empowered. Um, I think for some people. And I'm not saying that belief in God is inherently a disempowering idea. I think for a lot of people it actually empowers them, but in a more vicarious way because you're believing in God and you're vicariously, you know, gaining access to His power um, through your submission. But the point is that again they're both on an equal playing field, and I think we need religion because we need enough people to um, not have this belief in self as their religion, because ultimately that is a belief system that is very exclusive. We talk about the distinctions between religions. But think about the distinctions between each and every individual person. Talk about war. Talk about religious war. You know, the Christians and the Muslims and the various, I don't know. I mean, there are so many distinctions in religion. So many different types of religion, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? But belief in self brings that conflict. It makes the conflict even more widespread because now it's every man for himself, every individual for himself. If belief in self is to be the new religion, then we have no community. We have nothing at all. We are animals. Well, we're animals even if we do have community. But the point is that there's no connection anymore. Not really. Um, and possibly no empathy as well. Because now it's all about the individual. What I want, what I want, what I want. This person's in my way, you know, so on and so forth. And I think that the belief in self is a more dangerous religion than belief in God is. Competition can be a deadly thing. Just my opinion. I mean, competition is also a healthy thing. Can be, but you know.